Want to thank the fine folks at Muller Brothers Golf for being the official sponsor of today's episode of the State of the Saints podcast. Look, we all want to look good on a golf course. Those that play golf, you want to look good, you want to play well. Well, that often comes at the expense of feeling good. Muller Brothers Golf has polos that look good and feel good with their lightweight and stretchy materials that hug your body. You will feel cool while looking just as cool. Their polos are guaranteed to make you look better, but it's up to you to work on that golf game. On a hot summer day or on a beautiful spring day like this, on the golf course, there is no polo that you would rather wear than Muller Brothers Golf signature polos. Muller Brothers Golf has a large catalog of polos with designs for those who want a loud design or those that may want a design that's a little bit more subtle, and sleek looking designs as well. They also have fun t-shirts, hats, tumblers, and so much more to make your golf experience even better. Use the promo code BELLYUP at MullerBrothers.com to save 15% off. And you don't have to purchase a Muller Brothers shirt just to play golf. I mean, these shirts are comfortable. You can actually wear them out and about. You can look good, and you got the great design on it. I mean, why wouldn't you want to stand out in the crowd? So go to MullerBrothers.com, use the promo code BELLYUP, right? MullerBrothers.com, use the promo code BELLYUP, and save 15% off. And it back. We gotta run 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 it back. Hey, what's going on? It is yours truly, TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Hopefully everybody can hear me. A lot of issues starting this show. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but thank you all so much for allowing the State of the Saints podcast to be a part of your listening and viewing pleasure. Really do appreciate it. On this edition, we're going to be talking about a new edition. And I'm not talking about if it isn't love, why do I feel this way? Not that new edition, but I'm talking about a new edition in the form of running back Jamaal Williams. Jamaal Williams, a lot of you probably already know about Jamaal Williams. You probably know about him because of how animated he is and how how funny he is when it comes to like giving you really good sound bites. Swag Eye Guys Gay, right? When he did the intro for what was that, prime time on NBC when they played the Green Bay Packers, Swag Eye Guy, lead division of the D. Man, that dude is funny, man, but what isn't funny is his punishing running style. I mean, this guy is incredible. He had 17 touchdowns rushing last season for 1,066 yards. And there's a lot of Detroit Lion fans out there that were sad to see him go. If you were to ask me, would the New Orleans Saints sign Jamaal Williams? I mean, I would have thought that you were absolutely insane. That's just not how the Saints do business. They have not done business like this in years past. And, the fact that they acquired this guy is pretty good. We all know about the issues that involve Alvin Kamara the court issues that he's dealing with, is more than likely he's probably going to miss some time. And having a guy like Jamaal Williams to come in to be serve as a backup or serve as a complimentary back to Alvin Kamara is a plus. Not only can this guy run in between tackles with a punishing running style, he can also catch the ball out of the backfield, and he's not afraid of absorbing a blow, and he's not afraid to inflict punishment. In a lot of ways, he has a similar running style when it comes to balance, like Alvin, but he's a little bit more of a punishing back. He's not afraid to lower that shoulder. He's not afraid to fight for those extra yards. This is definitely an upgrade from what we had last season. No disrespect to Mark Ingram. Mark Ingram is one of my favorite New Orleans Saints. He's reunited with his former college teammate, Taysom Hill. Him and Taysom Hill went to BYU at the exact same time, played all 4 years together. So I know that's going to be a plus. And I just think the guy is going to fit into the locker room because of his personality. I'm just looking forward to seeing what this guy can do. I know that everyone that I've seen on social media, everyone that I talk to, are extremely excited about Jamaal Williams coming to the New Orleans Saints. They were excited about Shepard coming there, from the Jets, and also Saunders from the Chiefs. And, so the Saints are reloading up, and it seems like to me they're getting a little bit more athletic at both sides of the ball. Jamaal Williams definitely could add that rushing attack, and be able to, run for those yards. But it's all up to the offensive line. Are they going to be able to block for these guys? And the Saints, they made restructured the deal of Andrus Peat. Andrus Peat reworked his deal for about $8.8 million. His previous number was $18.3 million. That comes from Nick Underhill on Twitter. So Andrus Peat restructuring his deal to make it a little bit more cap friendly for the New Orleans Saints. Look, you may not like Andrus Peat, may not be your favorite New Orleans Saint. I don't have anything against Andrus Peat. I think sometimes he can lack aggression at times, but as far as being a run blocker, he's a really good run blocker. Pass protection, he kind of lacks in a little bit, but for that particular price, I don't think you can get something better. He is as crazy as this sound, he is middle. He's not even middle of the pack. He's up there one of the top guards in football. Is he top 5? No. Top 10, we probably talking, but he's definitely serviceable. And Andrus Peat, when he is playing, some games you can see him really, doing some things that that the Saints need him to do, especially when it comes to run blocking. But due to the injuries, I do feel like the Saints need to go in a different direction. I think they definitely need to draft themselves a guard or a guy that plays center that is a guard. One guy I was looking at was Weipler. Weipler is a center out of Ohio State. He's a guy that plays center, but I think that he'll probably be a more serviceable guard. The fact is, I like his aggression. If you ever seen Weipler play, but he's a little man. When you look at centers, one thing that is their advantage is their long arm reach, right? And I think that Weipler's arm reach it might hinder him, if he's trying to be a starting center in the league. But as a guard, I think that he will be very, very serviceable. And honestly, due to the injury history of Andrus Peat, you definitely want to get yourself a guard. I'm pretty sure the Saints are probably going to go pass rush or interior in rounds 1 or 2, but you can get yourself an offensive line, a guy that can be an alternate, maybe a guy that you can plug and play across the offensive line in some of those later rounds. But I'm not mad at Andrus Peat for staying. I'm not mad at the Saints for, restructuring that deal. It also gives Andrus Peat an opportunity to test the free agent market next year. So they gave him a little bit of a phantom year, and next year he'll be able to test the free agent market, which I'm pretty sure that the New Orleans Saints are probably going to be trying to draft or sign his replacement. Rather it's drafting a guy this year or finding a replacement for him next year. But the offensive line definitely needs to improve. The aggression of the offensive line definitely needs to improve if the Saints are going to do anything. all of these key acquisitions, getting Jamaal Williams, getting Derek Carr means absolutely nothing if your offensive line can't stay up straight. So those are some of the top stories that came out. Of course, we talked about Saunders. We talked about Shepard on yesterday. So those are the stories that's coming out of New Orleans. Extremely excited about the news with Jamaal Williams. Looking forward to seeing him in the Saints uniform. I think that he's going to be an instant fan favorite. And if he can replicate or be remotely close to what he put on the field last season with the Detroit Lions, they might even name a street after him. So, so there you go. All right, Swag Eye Guys Gang is in New Orleans. Let me go ahead and read some of your comments. It says, I didn't know Williams and Hill were teammates at BYU. Yeah, they were. They came there together. They graduated together. All 4 years they spent on the same team. TJ, if we do all that you just mentioned with Thielen and Mike T, where does that leave Rashid Shaheed? Someone I think should get more snaps at wide receiver. Well, look, they'll probably leave him as an alternate, but look, I think that the New Orleans Saints have been going about business the wrong way, right? I just think that the New Orleans Saints need to distribute the ball, right? I think that there's been too much of focus on one particular guy. Like when Chris Olave was out there, right? It was like throwing the ball, constantly trying to force Chris Olave the ball when you had other guys out there. I just wish that the New Orleans Saints can maybe go back to the days of 2010, 2011, when you might see Colson have a big game, go over 100 yards. You might see Henderson, go over 100 yards because you probably are trying to throw the ball down the field. You might see, Benjamin Watson, or you might see Jimmy Graham, go over 100 yards. You might see Darren Sproles out there catch the ball for about 50 yards. They had so many different weapons that you just couldn't key in on the guy. And I just wish that they go back to that. And maybe, experienced veteran like Derek Carr will be able to feed the ball to other guys as well. And that's what my thinking is on. It's not the fact that, I'm trying to push Rashid Shaheed out of the door. I just think that offensively, you can find ways to use him if P. Carmichael plays his cards right and do the right thing. If you start zeroing in on one guy, then I just feel like that's when you kind of condense your offensive playbook. But if you take advantage of some of the pieces that you have, then that opens up opportunities for guys like Shaheed. Look, make no mistake about it. I'm glad that Michael Thomas is back. I'm glad Chris Olave was drafted to the New Orleans Saints. I expect for him to be able to capitalize and build on what transpired last year. And I look forward to seeing what Rashid Shaheed can do. But the Saints need a veteran wide receiver outside of Michael Thomas. And what history has shown us that Michael Thomas has a history of not being healthy. So why would you want to not consider maybe bringing in a veteran, like Adam Thielen, or bring in a veteran that's out there right now that may not, cost a whole bunch of money in order for you to add to the team. I'm not even looking at a guy like Odell Beckham Jr. anymore. I mean, guy talking about he want 15, 20 a year. I want to know what that boy on, because you ain't played in like a whole entire year. Who is going to give a guy that's like, 30, 31 years old, $20 million? Like, so it's rather you going to, lower your expectations, or you probably not going to be in the league. But anyway, I just think that the New Orleans Saints, they need to, get themselves another veteran receiver. And if you can get a guy like Thielen who still has something left in the tank, may not be able to give you them 100 catches like he once did for Minnesota, but can give you half of that, right? I mean, if Adam Thielen can give you 50, 60 catches and 600 yards, I mean, you straight. And if you add like Michael Thomas, if he can stay healthy, I think that the Saints can have themselves some really good weapons. And also you have opportunities for Rashid Shaheed to grow. And in the playbook, we know that he can do so many different things. You can do jet sweeps with him. You can do wide receiver screens with him. You can send him out wide, take the top off the defense with him. We've seen him in all different – we've seen him do all types of different things last season. So I think there's still room for him. But regardless, you're not going to go into the season talking about Rashid Shaheed being your number 2 or your number 3 receiver. I mean, you got to look at this right now as an outlier until he can actually continue to do it. Do I think that he can do it again? Absolutely. But Only time will tell, man. Only time will tell. Let's see. Nick, we have 30 likes now, bro. You got to refresh. DA has done his thing in free agency so far. Yeah, I'm going to say this, man. I mean, you have to be impressed. Like at the beginning of the offseason, morale was extremely low with the New Orleans Saints. But I'm going to say this. The Saints have shown us and told us a lot by this offseason. They told us a lot. They shown us a lot, I should say. And this is what they shown us. The Saints are aggressive this offseason. And the reason why they're aggressive is because of Dennis Allen. And let me help you understand what I'm saying. They're aggressive because Dennis Allen isn't as good of a coach as Sean Payton. They have to be aggressive. See, with Sean Payton, you can go out here and get a middle of the pack wide receiver and he can make it work. You can go out here and get an average running back that probably possesses pass catching skills and he can make it work. You can get a tight end that's probably just tall and probably has some good hands and he can make it work. See, Sean Payton was able to get a lot with a lot less. With Dennis Allen, you can't do that. Like, you have to have some real key players. You got to have some playmakers. You got to have some guys at skill positions that can basically do things that don't necessarily mean that it's been taught to them. Like, you know how guys develop, like you teach them and put them in certain situations and they develop. Sometimes you need guys that are like an easy study. And the Saints are getting guys that are considered easy studies. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that you don't have Sean Payton that can just turn, chicken salad, that used to be chicken, what. I just think with Dennis Allen is different. Dennis Allen, you need a team around him. You need guys that have certain skill sets around him. And you need other guys that probably have the same similar skill set around them as well. So I just think that's the reason why we're seeing more unconventional moves by the New Orleans Saints this offseason. I just think that it has a lot to do with Dennis Allen. And, I'm not mad at them because this is something that we've wanted for I don't know how long. We've all wanted the New Orleans Saints to aggressively try to pursue certain players. We don't like the fact that how the Saints just basically a whole hum when it comes to free agency in years past. But now it seems like they're extremely aggressive, and they have to be. They got to be aggressive because if they're going to do anything this season or they're going to make any type of noise, they got to move this way. They got to move this way because if they don't move this way, then more than likely, they'll find themselves missing the postseason. Keen Arthur, thank you very much for the $2 at TJ. Are we playing with fool's gold with these free agents? No, I don't think they're playing with fool's gold. It's just what I said, Keen Arthur. I just think it has a lot to do with the fact that you don't have the luxury of a developmental coach like Sean Payton on your team anymore. Sean Payton can develop players and he can get players paid for the most part. He can like take an offensive player that has like a minimal skill set and he can get the best out of it. Like, I don't think Dennis Allen can do that. Like, if you're average with Dennis Allen, you're going to be average or you're going to be below that because I don't see them kind of, developing guys into being like all world type offensive players. So they got to do that. And they also got to do that on defense too. The O-line is better than people think, improved a lot. Thank you very much for the $2. Yeah. I don't think it's so much about the offensive line just being bad. I just think it has a lot to do with the fact that these guys can't stay on the same page because they're not on the field together. You get one guy back, then the other guy leaves. It's like they tagging out, and I think that's the biggest issue with the Saints offensive line. It's just they don't spend enough time together to be able to gel. If they were to do that, then I do believe that they would have a really good offensive line. But it's hard to have a good offensive line when the starters that you thought are going to start the season aren't there, Let's see, Jeffrey, all those things you mentioned is essential to having an ego. His was selfish before. Hopefully that's changed. I don't know exactly who we're talking about here, Mike is a competitor. He has never shown himself to be a diva. There's a difference between ultra competitive and egotistical. Mike T just wants to win. Yeah, look, I don't look at Michael Thomas as being an egomaniac. I just think that when people don't know something about a guy, they just create their own narrative. Michael Thomas goes down. It was very little transparency about what was going on with him. And we all know people, like when people walk past us, they don't speak, they don't say certain things, and they don't have conversations with us. We create narratives about them. Because Michael Thomas wasn't on the field, because Michael Thomas has issues with the medical staff, we just look at him as being a problem, right? Because he isn't going out here doing a whole bunch of interviews. I don't think I ever heard Michael Thomas ever do an interview like outside of like the media obligation that he has. Like I never seen that. And with that, I just think that people just become frustrated because we want to know about these guys. Like we like the fact that we can go to NewOrleansSaints.com and see Alvin Kamara talk for 7 to 8 minutes and stuff like that and show a little bit of his personality. Same thing with Cam Jordan. Same thing with Demario Davis. We see these guys and we see them, in a football setting, and also we see them outside of football setting. And, that gives us a level of comfort. We feel like we know these individuals. But when we don't know them, we create these narratives. And I think there's a narrative going on around Michael Thomas because Michael Thomas, people saying that he don't want to play for the New Orleans Saints. Well, I'm going to be honest with you. If you think that Michael Thomas couldn't get no money nowhere else other than New Orleans, I don't care what injuries he had. You're crazy. Like he could have easily just went somewhere else if it was just, I don't want to play for New Orleans. But that seems to be the narrative. The narrative, he didn't want to play for the Saints. Well, if he didn't want to play for the Saints, why is he still here? I mean, sometimes your questions get answered and you may not want to accept them, but he had a choice. And he decided to restructure his deal. And regardless to if you want to believe and convince yourself that nobody else wanted him or he couldn't find no other home, that's just not true. Michael Thomas is a competitor. This man loves to play the game of football. Every time that he's out there, I never see him phoning it in. I ain't never seen him give up on plays. If he's mad about anything, it's because he wants the football, because he feel like he can make a play. And those are the type of guys that you want on your football team. So if you aren't happy with Michael Thomas, it's probably because you don't know that much about him. And you're frustrated because you don't know about him. So you just created your own narrative. Oh, he's selfish. Well, where's your proof that he's selfish? Where's your proof? And you can say, he can play. Well, a lot of people thought that Dalvin Breaux could play, and he had a broken leg. A lot of people thought that Keenan Lewis could play, and he had an injury. So there you go. So sometimes like we don't want to accept certain things. We rather go for the latter. But the man wants to be here, and it's been proven because he could have went somewhere else. TJ, are you higher on Brandon Cooks or Adam Thielen? Adam Thielen. Brandon Cooks to me is a one-trick pony. I think that he's fast. He can take the top off the defense. He can run. He's a decent route runner. He's a I don't want to say decent. He above average route runner, but I mean he don't get yards after the catch. That continues to be the story of his career. And then I just think that Adam Thielen gives you a little bit more. Adam Thielen is a really good route runner. He's a really good pass catcher. He's a guy that's a leader. He's a guy that is not a me guy, which Brandon Cooks has shown in years past that is, his personality. He wants the football. That's fine and all that kind of stuff. But, in wins, you're upset because you didn't get no catches. Like that kind of stuff right there. I don't think that you just change that type of personality overnight. I don't think it's a coincidence that, he can't stay on one team. I don't think it's a coincidence that teams continue to use him as trade bait. What is the issue with that, right? Like there should be a time if you're putting up some real big numbers, teams should feel like, man, we need this guy here. Like we shouldn't even consider trading him. But we see it with the Patriots. We've seen it with the Rams. We've seen it now with the Houston Texans. Like guy got traded twice during the time when he received big money. But it's not to say that if Brandon Cooks was to come to the Saints, he wouldn't have anything to offer or he wouldn't be able to make some noise. I just think Adam Thielen is better. And especially what you need right now, you definitely need a guy like Adam Thielen. Yeah, Jamaal Williams was the lead in rushing and touchdowns last year in the goal line. Give it to him. Yeah, I mean, we all seen that it was hard for the Saints to get 1 yard. So maybe it's good to go out there and get a running back that can fight for that yard. Name an average player that did well and he was a free agent, more like draft picks that grew in his system. Said name an average player that did well and he was a free agent, more like draft pick that grew in the system. I don't know exactly what we're talking about with that. Said name an average player that did well and he was a free agent. I mean, Robert Meacham. Robert Meacham did well. You know, when he first came with the New Orleans Saints coming out of University of Tennessee, he was a guy that took the top off the defense, but, you know, the Saints didn't keep him. He went to San Diego, right? The only time when Los Angeles were the Chargers, and it didn't pan out for him. And then he found his way back, and he found success again. You know, he stayed on the team another 2 to 3 years. So let's see. They could probably throw a third at Denver to get Judy. I'm good on the trades like that, man. I'd rather you just get somebody in the draft that you can develop in your system that won't cost you as much money. And look, the Saints don't need, they don't need a number one receiver. They got an opportunity to have 2 number one receivers right now in Thomas and Olave. So, you know, getting a guy like Judy, to me, you're going to have to end up paying him big money, you know, when his contract is up. So I'm not in the business of doing that, especially if you can get yourself a young, really good wide receiver that you don't have to worry about paying, you know, for another 3 to 4 years. So I'm good on the Judy trade. If the Saints didn't have anybody, if they didn't have any receivers, then I would say, yeah, that'd probably be something to consider. Glad that we got the running back that can hold it down in a while just in case Kamara gets suspended. Yeah, I mean, that is a good thing. You know, if, you know, something was to happen to Kamara, I think you can trust Jamaal Williams. Calvin for a third, heck yeah, for Judy. Yeah, that ain't happening, though. That ain't happening. I'd be shocked if the Saints acquired Jerry Judy. I mean, to me, that wouldn't be smart business. It just wouldn't be. It wouldn't be smart business because you'll be trading for a guy who is up for a big contract next year. So why would you want to do that? And why would you give a team a third round pick for a guy? Seriously, you probably only going to have for 1 year because he might end up like you know, getting more money somewhere else. That just wouldn't be smart business. My stance on Pete Carmichael is he's not a guy that's going to elevate a quarterback performance. He needs a certain type of quarterback to elevate his offense, and I think Carr is that quarterback. You know, I just think that you got to have some players that can play in spite their circumstance. You know, like in spite their circumstance, you got to have guys that's going to go out there and be able to play, to be able to see certain things. Because sometimes, you know, it's not like it's the coaches, yeah, but sometimes, man, it's those players that are so smart and so good, it can make a coach look better than what he actually is. I read Jamaal chose the Saints over Buffalo. Well, that's good. I mean, you can play indoors at least 9 times a year versus going out there to below zero weather in Buffalo. I'd rather stay indoors. I don't know why Denver would want to even trade Judy. I would trade Sutton before Judy. Yeah, I think that he can do something. You know, I'm talking Sean Payton. He definitely can do something with Jared Judy. I love Michael Thomas's contract. I think a lot of people do. And I think it kind of just puts our mind at ease because now people don't have to be sitting up here talking about, man, what's wrong with Mike T? What happened with Mike T? Look how much money he's making. Well, if he don't play, then he ain't gonna get paid. It's incentive later. You know, the only thing I think he's guaranteed is like $2 million. Judy not going nowhere with showing out there. Now I don't see that happening either. And why would he want to go anywhere? You know, you got a coach that's gonna put you in the best position to succeed. I got a problem with the medical staff too. Can't nobody in either organization stay healthy. Yeah, that's something that they're gonna need to address. Brandon Cooks, thank you very much for the $5. Says, y'all quit confusing me with Kenny Stills. We are not the same guy. Well, you're definitely not Kenny Stills, but I'm just saying, you know, like it just seemed like, you know, you have a reputation of teams not wanting to commit to him. You know, Brian Russell, Taysom Hill, and Jamaal together. Again, they were at BYU together, and they killed the red zone. The Saints need to put that in a package in RPO. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways that the Saints could actually utilize both of these guys, and I'm pretty sure they look forward to it. I'd rather draft our next possession wide receiver. I agree with that. BYU reunion. TJ is Baldwin and Lockett out there. Tyler Lockett? I don't know. I ain't hear nothing about Tyler Lockett. I think Tyler Lockett is still under contract. I know he was on. I think he was a free agent last year. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I would have heard if Tyler Lockett was a free agent. Y'all thought we were gone. Scroll down a little bit more. It says, I was afraid of Hardy leaving when we got Shaheed, but I hope the best for him. Yeah, I like Deontay Hardy, man. The guy deserves an opportunity. I just think that the wide receiver room got a little bit too congested. I think that the Saints kind of turned away from him because of his size, and they just felt like he always was going to be susceptible to being hurt. And that's probably the reason why they decided to move on from him. But there is a place for a guy like Hardy, and I'm pretty sure he can still make some noise. And in Buffalo, you got Josh Allen throwing you the football. So we know that, Josh Allen going to be able to get that ball to him. And with that speed that Hardy has, my goodness. Let's see. We like to live vicariously through others. And when we don't have enough info, we draw our own conclusions and create narratives to make us comfortable with the limited access we have. That's a really good statement right there. And that's absolutely true. When we don't know something about somebody, like we create these narratives about them. And a lot of us are upset or mad or confused about a person because we created this confusion, or we created this anger. And it has a lot to do with the fact that we don't know these guys. So I don't know them, like, well, what he got to hide? I don't never see him do something. He ain't never out there. Well, how come I don't never see him talking to nobody? And then all of a sudden, like, he's a diva. Oh, he's hard to deal with. Oh, like, I don't know. I don't have a problem with Michael Thomas. I don't know Michael Thomas like that, right? And that's just the way that the guy is. Everybody don't have to give you access to him. And I don't think just because a person doesn't give you access to him, that's not an indicator that the guy, is, has an issue. It's probably just his personality. He just likes to play in the background. I think DA will go away for these 6'6" edge rushers and start going for more quickness up front. Well, I hope so, because that seems to be the wave of modern NFL. TJ, who's the DeRozan of the NFL in your opinion? DeMar DeRozan? Let's see, who's the DeMar DeRozan? Keenan Allen? That's simple. Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen is a guy that puts up big numbers nobody really pays that much attention to. He's extremely talented. He's an extremely gifted wide receiver, has always been a gifted wide receiver, and he's one that nobody really talks about. He's the guy that really, when you start talking about some of the top wide receivers in the league, his name seems to never come up. Now, he always ends up in a Pro Bowl, or, like he always end up like in consideration, when it comes to, among his peers. But when it comes to like actual people talking about him, it's probably Keenan Allen. Sign OBJ on a show me contract. Well, the way that Odell talking, he acting like he don't got to show you nothing. He already done showed you. But I just think that he has a false sense of reality of where he is. Nobody is going to, well, I don't want to say nobody, because the way that Aaron Rodgers is talking, the Jets might give him $20 million. But nobody seriously, that wants to win is going to commit $20 million to a guy who has had 2 ACL injuries in the last 3 years. Not happening. Can't be aggressive in the offseason if you're trying to win now, but then be ultra conservative. And if you don't trust your offseason acquisitions, come on, DA, the time to be timid is done. Well, they're not being timid anymore. And I hope that this is an indicator that this is going to be something that's going to be passé, that's going to be over with, done, right? I said this on last show. You don't get to where you need to be being scared. You don't get to where you need to be being timid. You just got to lay it all on the line. And the Saints seem like they're laying it all on the line from a front office standpoint, I just hope that radiates on the field, because it seemed like people were a little bit too scared. And to be honest with you, these off-season acquisitions and what the Saints are doing, being aggressive in the off-season, to me, if it don't work out, then you definitely got to be considering letting Dennis Allen go, because they are allowing Dennis Allen to bring in the type of guys that he wants, to bring in the coaches that he wants, the quarterback that he wants. You got a running back. I'm pretty sure that's what he wanted. So you're getting all these guys to come in, and if you can't produce and you can't win, it's pretty much you got to call a spade a spade. And I just think that even the guy with the patience of Job, like a Mickey Loomis has, you got to concede and say, man, maybe we need to go in a different direction, because we have exhausted ourselves and have given this guy an opportunity. So this is it to me, but I could be wrong though. Hey, make your own podcast, dude. If you don't like the content, then dip. Well, I don't know exactly who said anything about the content. Well, I mean, honestly, I don't care. At the end of the day, I think I enjoy doing the show. It might not be for everybody, but I think we do all right over here. If Mike T doesn't get hurt, we should be good at wide receiver. Yeah, I mean, but you can't just go on them ifs and them wishes. You know what I'm saying? If ifs was a fifth, we all would be drunk. You chunked him for good, Jerry. Let's see. How would you address pass rushing draft or free agency? I'll do it in a draft and in free agency. If you can find yourself a decent pass rush in free agency, and if I'm pretty sure you can find one in this draft, it's pretty deep, and you can add another guy, then I think you have something. But you don't go into the season talking about potential. I think you should have learned your lesson with the Davenport experience. Hunter Renfrow would be good for us as a slot receiver. I agree with that. The guy's pretty good. That's an underrated comment. How about not come on here then? I mean, what exactly was said? He is not a diva. I'm gonna scroll down. I don't know exactly. I don't know exactly what was said. Like, anybody know exactly what was said? I'd like to know. If I'm sure you don't care, TJ, just some dude saying you were monotone. Oh, okay. Well, who cares? Like, if oh man, hilarious. Who cares? Let's see, move on. Let's see. Isn't the NFL draft the end of April? Yes, it is. We don't allow no TJ Dragon here. Well, I appreciate that. I mean, look, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. But let's just, we all know, like we're not one of these fake animated podcasting people out here. Like, if I feel like it's necessary to do certain things, I'll do it. But sometimes, we just be having conversations, and maybe, this probably his first time catching the show. But, I try to entertain people as best way that I can. But, sometimes you can't make everybody happy. TJ monotone, but you're here listening. Look, man, all I know is, here's the reality. I started this show in a doggone closet and recording stuff on my iPhone. Now, going into 6 years later, we have almost 10,000 subscribers on this show. We've had over 1,000 episodes. Nobody has given me absolutely nothing. But yet we basically turned that into being a part of the NFL media, getting sponsorships. And keep in mind, ain't want no podcast networks and all that kind of stuff. Any podcast network or any endorsement deal I got is because of what we did over here. So I must be doing something right. I must be doing something right. So, and, hey, let's see. What record would you give us this year, TJ, if everyone's happy? Can we go 11-6? I can see that happen. I can see us going 11-6. I can believe that. What's y'all season record prediction? Look, I'm not doing this right now. I'm not doing this. I ain't doing this. Like, no, 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 no. I'll wait till like towards the, beginning of the season when the season start. Then we'll have these conversations because, I mean, things can happen. Things could happen. You got to take into account the guys they're going to add. If I was just to be doing predictions right now, I'd just be doing it because I'm excited. People always talking ish, but like Kwame Brown said, as long as you don't fool it with me, y'all know the other F word I want to use. Look, man, I know what it is, man. I know what it is. It's the same thing that why, my emails and stuff like that are flooded. It's the reason why you have individuals, every tweet that I put out there, they trying to combat that. It's because, once again, I put, myself in a position, through hard work and dedication. And, people wish they had that work ethic, or they probably started out doing something and they probably mad that it just didn't work. I don't, I can't, I hope everybody, dreams come true. I hope that everybody, feel a level of fulfillment that I feel by doing this podcast and doing things and creating content and stuff like that, But I know what it is, man. I know what it is, but I just I'm not concerned about that. If you concern yourself about people who have problems with you, who really don't, they don't have problems with you. They just, probably envious of a position. But I work my ass off to be, to get this show where it needs to be. And I'm unapologetic about that. And if you ride with the show, then cool. If you don't, oh well, there's other platforms you can choose from. But I'm not going to change who I am. And I'm not going to shortchange anybody by giving them fake emotions if I'm not feeling it on a certain day, or I don't feel like it needs to be said. I don't feel like anybody needs to roll like that. TJ got it out the mud. We love you, TJ. I appreciate that. Greg, TJ, your show is the truth, and I love it. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you. Look, man, you all are the people I concern myself with, not people that come in that probably just seen a show one time or seen it for a few minutes, or I'm not concerned about that. I dedicate these shows and my time to people that just love Saints football like myself and dedicate themselves to the team and have a love and a passion for it. Keen Arthur, thank you very much for the $5. Said, TJ, are you in North Carolina? My company has an event there at North Carolina Central University, March 26th. Hopefully you can come. I'm not in North Carolina. I stay in South Carolina. I stay in Myrtle Beach. But I think I might be maybe 4 hours away from North Carolina Central, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, but on the 26th, that might be a little bit tough for me because I'm pretty sure that's a weekend that my wife has to work. So, yeah, that means that, I'm on full daddy duty at that particular time. Some people are just contrarians. That's all. Well, can't concern yourself with those type of people. But I like the Jamaal Williams pickup. I really do. I like the pickup. I think that he's going to bring a different dynamic to the New Orleans Saints offense. Derek Carr, I think he's going to, know how to utilize him with his pass catching ability and all of these different things that he can actually bring to the table. Also, I just think that by the time, if Alvin has to serve a suspension, if he comes back, it'll be a really good 1-2 punch right there. But I still feel like the New Orleans Saints may need to get themselves another running back, rather it's through the draft or, maybe elevate one of these other guys, because you have to take into account that there could be a possibility that Alvin Kamara can miss some time. Deuce Vaughn needs to be drafted also in the later rounds and will be set. They bring the Sproles type here. Yeah, I mean, look, I like Deuce Vaughn. I think he's pretty decent. I think he's a big, big time guy. I'm more of a Evan Hall guy, the running back out of Northwestern. I like him. He's kind of a downfield runner. He kind of reminds me of like Tyler Algier out there in Atlanta. I think the Saints need a sledgehammer running back. Even though Jamaal Williams kind of possesses that sledgehammer type, running style. State of the Saints podcast is the only Saints channel I listen. The other ones just feed food. Look, I like all these, these guys, and being able to go to like some of these events and, seeing these guys and, talking to them. I got nothing but respect for them. I got nothing but respect for anybody that follows the team and gives us different reports on the New Orleans Saints. I just feel like I'm a little bit different. I try to be different. I pride myself for being different. It's not anything like I personally like sit down and be like, man, I'm gonna be different from everybody. It's just I feel like there's one thing. Look, here's the thing. You can write about the New Orleans Saints, you can talk about them, but I feel like I understand sports, and I'm from the damn city. Like, I don't care where I stay. I'm in Myrtle Beach, but I'm from New Orleans, and there's a level of passion that I feel like people from the Gulf Coast area, people from New Orleans, you may have left New Orleans due to certain circumstances. A lot of us, if you're around my age, you probably left New Orleans because of Hurricane Katrina. And the thing that ties us to the city is New Orleans, right? The city itself, right? So I don't know, man. I walked the streets of New Orleans. I done went to I done caught the bus. Like, that's my city. Like, that's embedded inside of me. And it's, I take that and I bring it to every particular show that I do, and especially when you talk about Saints football. So this is one of those moments where, you're having these conversations about guys that they're adding to the team and you're excited about it. But at the same time, I mean, TJ, you have the best podcast no matter what no one else says. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you for that. All good, TJ. I'll look at some schools in SC. So, TJ, do you think we should look at Elliott from the Cowboys?
Hell no. To the no. Hell to the no.
I'm good on Ezekiel Elliott, Ezekiel Elliott, I still think he has some left in the tank, but he's definitely not featured back. He like in Adrian Peterson mode right now, when he went to the Saints. That's how I feel about Zeke Elliott. Now, if he goes to a team with a really good offensive line, I think that he might be able to turn back the clock. I got you, TJ. I think that what Shaheed put on tape last season shouldn't be ignored and shouldn't be taken advantage of. I agree. And I don't think they're going to do it. But you got to earn it. Now, if he goes out there and he competes and he plays so well that he leaves very little doubt that, okay, I need to be in his rotation, then give it to him. But you can't just be like, oh, well, he did this last season. I know he's going to be able to replicate it this. Like, you got to earn it, man. You know how it is, man. Like, I don't care how good you are. Every single year you play football, you got to go out there and you got to replicate it. Rather you started and you were on an uptick, well, you got to build off that. So it's a nice sample size, but they need a larger one. And you can't just go in there and just be like, oh, well, he played good last season, so he's going to play good this season. He got to earn it. And I think he will, but you still got to be under the impression that, he did good, but he got to earn it. TJ, do you think we should fire DA? I think that ship is sailed already. The way I feel about Dennis Allen, I look, Dennis Allen leaves a lot to be desired, in my opinion. I have, I'm only going by what I saw. Last season, there was sometimes the Saints just looked like they were just out of sorts because of, the coaching. Down the stretch, some of the decisions that were made, that cost the team. And if he went up against some of these coaches that the NFL considers elite, he got out coached. But he's here now. He's here. He's the head coach. It's a brand new season. All that stuff about how I felt last season, I got to go ahead and just throw it out the window because it's pointless. It's pointless because he's going to be here. Do I want Dennis Allen to succeed? Yes, I do, because he coaches my favorite team, right? But as of right now, do I want him to be fired? No. I don't want him to be fired. Now, check back with me, if the team is struggling, mid-season or towards the end of the season, then maybe my tone had changed. But it's pretty obvious that he's still here, So, complaining and talking about the dude need to be fired and all that kind of stuff at this particular point, just a waste of time. He's here, and I'm not going to do that. Now, I know that, we make these little parody videos, but those are all jokes, man. Those are all jokes, like, at the end of the day. But, I'm willing to give him opportunity. And I feel like this year you got to evaluate him even harder, because last year you can be like, well, he will just plug and play, right? But this season, these are your guys. This is the coaching staff you wanted. These players that are coming in, these are the players that you wanted. Going to the draft, these are the players that you drafted. So you got to evaluate them a little bit differently. Like, I can kind of understand to a certain standpoint, what the thinking was when Mickey Loomis, we just kind of brought him here. We just didn't want to rock the boat. We just didn't want to change anything. We just put him in that position. But as of right now, it's a whole different ball game, man. It's a whole different ball game now. And Dennis Allen, he got it's put up a shut up time. Hey, TJ, I think that we will see changes on the defensive line as far as the prototype. I hear that was Ryan Nielsen's thing. Remember, DA drafted Khalil Mack in Oakland and Von Miller in Denver. Well, that's a good hey, that's a good little lineup right there. I mean, one thing you can't say about him, man, he drafts well. He drafts well. Like Chris Olave, Trevor Penning, Lante Taylor, like these some good guys. He drafts well. I'm so glad Andy Dalton is gone. Carolina, y'all can have him. Look, nothing was wrong with Andy Dalton as a backup. Like, I would take Andy Dalton as a backup quarterback. A guy who comes in every single day, every single game to be the starter, absolutely not. All right. But Carolina got themselves a solid backup. TJ is an awesome guy. Always have a great show. Dalton, I appreciate that, man. Thank you for that. TJ, would you bring Juice back on a minimum incentive-based contract?
Hell no. To the no, no, no. Hell to the no.
I'm sorry, man. I don't know if it was the injury or not, but Jarvis Landry, nah. I'm good. I'm good on that. I'm good on that. Like, I think he's gonna end up finding another home. But I wouldn't look if push comes to shove, I'll bring him back, but it wouldn't be my first choice. I'll be lying to you if I said that he would be my first choice. Y'all treat my guy Carr well. He about to do great things with you guys, especially with DA. He will succeed. Raider fan here. Smoke Man, thank you so much for being here. I'm hoping that you're right. I'm hoping that he be able to bounce back, have a good solid season. We're hoping, and maybe this can be the recipe for success. I hope. No lie, I think he must make the playoffs to save his job. Oh yeah, you got to make playoffs based on the condition of the NFC, based on the division that you're playing in, based on the fact that as of right now, you're the best team in the division. Like, things could change. Quarterbacks and all these other teams in the South may get a little bit better, but as of right now, I don't see 7 teams better than the New Orleans Saints. I don't. Like, you better be in somebody playoffs, or you're going to be picking up the classifyings, or you need to be picking up the classifyings, because, man, this is the best opportunity that you can have. Like, can you imagine? Like, think about this. Can you imagine if the Saints still had Drew Brees and Sean Payton in the condition of the NFC and what it is right now? The Saints probably be able to coast through the entire conference, say the least the division. So I don't know if I know you don't have that type of star power, that type of coaching, but you definitely need to be in somebody playoffs. You need to be in somebody playoffs. And I'm going to take a few more, and then we're going to get up out of here, folks. Say what you want about DA, but he's a good recruiter. Yeah, I mean, you have to admit, like, we've had issues in the past. Like, I even made a joke about this, right? I was like, man, the Saints just can't close the deal. They just can't close the deal, man. Like, they get these high-profile guys in here, and they just can't close the deal. And I don't know, man. Maybe it's DA's likability or something like that. But wouldn't surprise me at all if the New Orleans Saints go after a guy like Jadeveon Clowney to bring in for for depth purposes and maybe draft a guy. I think they probably going to end up doing something like that. Wouldn't surprise me if they end up like bringing in Clowney for a 1-year deal or something, or, even if they had conversations with Frank Clark, like that wouldn't surprise me at all either. I don't know if he'll be able to come in because of what he would demand, but yeah, like wouldn't surprise me if somebody like Clowney comes in, or, we hear a conversation about the Saints have talked to Frank Clark. Wouldn't surprise me at all. Aaron, thank you very much for the $10. Says a $10 question. What exactly happened when they restructure a contract? Well, look, when they restructure a deal, most of the time what they do is they take some of the salary and they convert it to a signing bonus to cut down on the costs and become cap compliant. Like, for example, like Andrews Pete was supposed to, he had like a $18 million, he had $18 million on the books, right? When you restructure the deal, they would basically take half of that money or a good portion of it and turn it into a signing bonus, right? So that money will actually be off the books. The money that's remaining is like the money that, that goes towards the cap. So a lot of, like, when they restructure deals, what they'll do is they'll kind of spread it out a little bit. They'll probably add like phantom years onto it, right? Like all your money for the most part will probably be up front, and probably towards the tail end, you probably getting like $200,000 or something like that. But in reality, it's most of the money that you have is up there towards the front. So it's all about like changing, like this, basically what it is, restructured, like revamping it, taking some of the money and giving it to you, turning it into a signing bonus. That's why some of these guys, they don't have issues with that. Like, you're going to get your money, right? Because if you doing business like this, for a fact that, let's just say, for example, 3-4 years, you were supposed to get this a certain amount of money. There was a chance that you probably wouldn't get it because you probably would be a little bit up there in age. They probably already drafted your replacement, right? But you convert that money into a signing bonus. That's money that belongs to you, and you get that right there, or right into your bank account. So this is just they just move money around, turn it to a signing bonus, stretch it out towards the end of the contract, just to become cap compliant. Jameis' old coach put him on blast, and what reason they didn't have a line or a running game back then? Look, this Jameis conversation is just getting old, man. Like, seriously. It's just getting old. Like, you're not going to convince me that the dude is a bad quarterback. You're not going to convince me that the dude don't have something to offer. I don't care what type of stats you want to put up. I'm not talking about you in particular, Louisiana Dog. I'm just saying in general. Like, people want to bring up this dude's shortcomings to try to justify that he's not good enough. You have to take that somewhere else. I already said this, and I'm going to continue to say it. A lot of people's opinion about Jameis Winston is manufactured. It's not anything that they came up with on their own. It's just the fact that you got 100, 200 people saying these things, or you see it all over social media, and then all of a sudden you just want to kind of fall into the crowd. People aren't doing their research. People aren't saying that. Like, Jameis Winston is a terrible quarterback because he did this in 2019. People going to run with it. If you don't formulate your own opinion about the dude, I have absolutely no interest in what you're saying. If you're telling me about, he did this and back in 2019, I won't have a conversation with you. And if you just think that he's just one of the worst quarterbacks that you ever seen, more than likely that's manufactured. So I don't care who he talk. You can talk to his old coach. You can talk to the dude that they used to dip the little cups in the water that used to know him. It regardless. Like, I think the dude has something to offer. And I don't understand, like, why this dude just constantly gets scrutinized. Like, this dude is like the worst quarterback ever. Like, you line him up against like some of the starters that you have in the league, and he probably can outplay them. And it's crazy that people just don't realize that. They talked. Let me see. They talk about the 300 pick, the 30 picks. I guess you're saying they just parrot the media's opinion of Jameis. Yeah, I have no problem with people having an issue with him. I just want people to formulate their own opinions and not opinions that I hear and they be verbatim. Like that's why I know what people like, don't formulate their own opinion. Like there's nothing that anybody can say to me that can truly say I'm a Saints fan and have an issue with Jameis as a member of the Saints. And I hear people saying, well, Sean Payton, developed him. He kept him on the straight and narrow. I'm gonna let y'all know something, right? If that was the case, why didn't Garen Grayson work? Why didn't Ian Book work on a Monday night? Why didn't Trevor Siemian work? Like, why is it that you have these other quarterbacks that just did not work? And you can and yes, there are certain things that Sean does that can bring the best out of a quarterback, but that quarterback still has to have something inside of them in order for them to perform at a certain level. Like the dude had 14 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. So it would have to be something inside of him in order for him to come up with that stat line. But people don't want to accept that. Why don't they want to accept it? Because once again, it does not fit their narrative. It does not fit their narrative. So, and finally says, I still think we need another linebacker also because Pete can't stay healthy. I agree with that. But they got DeMarco Jackson on the team, man. I'm interested to see what that guy can do. He had a really good camp. Unfortunately, he got hurt, but he had a really good camp, man. He's really good at covering tight ends and running backs as well. So I would be interested to see, can he make a jump? You could have the next emergence of a Caden Ellis on your team with DeMarco Jackson. But I want to say thank you all for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. I apologize at the beginning of the show with all of the audio issues and, the holdups and all that kind of stuff there. But thank you all for being here. I ask that you hit the like button if you enjoy the State of the Saints podcast and all of the State of the Saints podcast content. If I'm monotone, if I'm too monotone for you, I apologize. But thank you so much for choosing the State of the Saints podcast. You can check out previous episodes available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor FM, also a part of Megaphone. Shouts out to the Belly Up Sports Network for having the State of the Saints podcast under his umbrella now. Thank you so much for all the people that commented and donated to the show. Thank you so much for making the show as successful as it is. You can interact with me on Twitter at TJAY Jones 8. Till next time, all I got to say is, who dat?